And we're back with the Chris Berger birthday show here on the Screen Team. We've already reviewed movies like Lethal Weapon and Return of the Jedi, and now we're getting serious now. We're getting into the Godfather trilogy, and we're going to review Godfather Part 2. And to get a little expertise into this movie, I have called on my good friend and the godfather of my child, Mr. Mark Eswine. Mark, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well, living the dream.
Hey, listen, man. I'm curious. I know that you're a huge fan of the Godfather series, like I am. My first question to you is, and this might be a little difficult, but do you remember what your first experience was with the Godfather? Was this something that we saw together, or did you see it on your own? Do you remember your first experience with the Godfather?
Actually, I'm pretty sure the first time I saw it was with you.
And what was it?
Um,
Go ahead, man.
oh no, I was just gonna say I think we saw it in my parents' house, but that's it. That's it. That's
So
all I had.
So what was it about these movies? Because I know this is a movie you've seen several times when we were younger. Why do you like to watch these films? What is it about these films that keeps you coming back to it?
You know, I don't. I think when I guess it was what 15 years ago or maybe 20 years ago when we first saw it. That it was more like I guess you'd say the crime of it, and how it was all put together, and how complex it was, and I still like that this time around, but I guess being older, what I found a lot more interesting was a lot of just the detail of the scenes and the costumes and the music and just everything else that went into it. I got to enjoy a lot of that, and I think I also got to focus on that a lot more because I already knew so much of the story from watching it so many other times.
Now I'm curious. This was a film that you just started watching again to review it with us, and you introduced the trilogy to your wife. What did she think about the film?
She loved it. She, when we watched the first one, she couldn't wait to watch the second. And then when she said she couldn't wait to watch the third, I was like, really? We can wait to watch the third because you're going to be disappointed. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, so I haven't watched the third with her yet, but yeah, she's looking forward to it.
Now, this second one, it's a cool story because obviously we're seeing the continuation of what happened with Michael Corleone after the first movie. We're seeing what's happening with the family, but we're also kind of getting a sneak peek into what happened previously, like a prequel with Vito Corleone, and Robert De Niro plays that character, and it's just cool how both of these stories are kind of interwoven, and you're kind of seeing the experiences that both Michael Corleone and Vito Corleone are having at the time of their adulthood and stuff like that. Do you have any favorite scenes from the movie?
Yeah, I was looking at some of that and trying to pick out some of those things. One of the things I thought was interesting was there's a part where I think it's when they're in the garden, and it's Vito and Michael, and he says, "Oh, I never wanted this for you, Michael." You might know exactly at what point that's at, but I find that really interesting just in the context of the whole story because seeing all the flashbacks, the way the story starts, the way the Godfather 2 starts, Vito's dad is killed because he insulted,
A
I
crime
can't
lord.
remember the other guy. Yeah, that the guy from Corleone.
Yeah.
And so, I was just thinking about, probably Vito's dad never wanted a mafia lifestyle for him, and then you fast forward, and Vito never wanted it for Michael, And so I thought that was neat, and I think you also see that at the very end, the last scene is when they do that flashback
Yeah.
when Michael is telling everybody that, he enlisted right after Pearl Harbor. And I thought that was really interesting because that's when Michael is saying, he says to Tom Hagen, basically, you're making choices about my future,
Right.
and he doesn't like that. Like, he's going to make his own choices, and he says to Kay in the movie, that's my family, that's not me. And then at a certain point, of course, in the hospital with his father, he says, I'm with you now, Pop. And then that's when he's part of the family. And at that point, that's when he starts making choices for everybody else. So you can see when he goes from, he doesn't like the fact that people are making choices for him,
Right.
but then when everything switches to control and controlling everybody, and the whole Godfather thing is like a puppet on the strings.
Yeah.
So those themes, and I guess just family and the whole generational thing and how all of that comes together. That I have a lot of fun thinking about that and how some of those themes play out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. My favorite scene is that scene you were just talking about, how it's like the flashback of Michael telling the family that he enlisted into the Marines after Pearl Harbor, and you get to see all the old characters and stuff like that, and it was just like a cool kind of nostalgia kind of scene. But I like that scene a lot. And another thing that I like about the movie is you hear a lot of the characters referring to the good old days, like when Pop was still alive, and when the Corleone family was like like the Roman Empire, and you hear the characters talk about that, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with them, man. I miss the good old days too. It just it's
Right.
it
Yeah,
just
because the movie's so long. Yeah, they really build that up.
yeah, it's just like, man, I miss when Vito was around, and they were King of New York and stuff like that. And so all right, so moving on, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. I know that you're a big fan of it too. Do you have any favorite characters?
Oh man. Um, yeah, I like a lot of the characters. I guess.
You like Tessio, don't you?
No, I guess I do like Clemenza. I guess I don't know. I guess probably my favorite character is probably Vito. I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting, and I can't tell you why, but because I don't know why, not because I won't. Um, but years ago, I guess my favorite movie, like out of the trilogy, was the second one. But watching them this time, I really liked the first more than the second. So everybody in their cars is thinking we don't care, but I just want to throw that out there.
Well, no, no,
Each time I watch,
I'm curious. Why do you like the first one better? Because a lot of critics say they're like, oh, second one's better, blah 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 blah. Why do you like the first one better?
well, it, and I was trying to figure that out because I always liked the second one better, and I just, but I think this time around, just I guess how Michael isolated himself, that was so much more stark to me, and I just like the way that everything was orchestrated in the first one. Taking out all the heads of the families, and just how everything kind of built up, and I guess just Marlon Brando, being in it, and his character. So I think all of those things, and also in both films, you have a situation where, in the first film, it's Tessio and Clemenza that want to take out Barzini, where Michael's saying, no, I've got things that are important, can't do that now, and then they're complaining, and then, of course, that leads to the whole thing with Tessio. And then the second one, you've got Frank Pantangeli, who wants to take out was
Hyman
it
Roth.
Rosado Brothers?
Yeah, Rosado Brothers. You're right. You're right.
Right, and then Michael's like, no, I got important business with Hyman Roth, and that's fine. You always need something for the storyline, but it seemed almost like it's not the exact same story. There were there's different things happening, but it seemed like kind of almost the same setup.
Right.
And so I guess that was making me like the original a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. It's called Godfather Part 2. Want to remind folks that it is rated R for violence in there, so definitely keep the kiddies away from this one, okay? Mark, thanks for being on the show, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up after the break, we're going to review A League of Their Own. That's coming your way next on KWOC.